Hello, welcome to today's episode of Back to the City. Today I'm very, very, very happy. That's quite happy, isn't it? To
Very
be
happy.
joined by my good friends, Joni and Jessie.
Hi.
And we're going to take a journey through the 3 records, all of which were produced by Jessie, beginning with LOLA'S Paradox back in 2015 and leading up to 2020's Seasons Change.
Yep.
The changing seasons of Joni. Joni I've known for an extremely long time, almost as long as I've been in Minneapolis.
Oh, wow.
And I can remember when we were first playing at open mics, I was really struck by your song, fresher at the time, Dream Spinner.
Oh.
So let's dive
wonderful.
into Dream Spinner as,
Okay.
as a starting point. In my dreams, it's much better than this darker life I've found. That's the opening lyric, yeah?
Yes.
I still try to make it better.
With a permagrin stain frown. Yeah.
With a what?
A permagrin stain frown.
With a permagrin stained frown.
Yes.
That's a very interesting image that I had never caught before. Let's return to that song and like the ethos and the vibe of that song.
Okay.
We're spinning dreams, and there's something empowering about this capacity to spin dreams that we have. I can fly, I have superpowers. There's something great about that. But this is at odds with the darker life that is lived in most moments. Okay, when we can't switch that off and just dream and spin
You're right,
something
yeah.
else. And so in that song, it's a celebration of the capacity to spin dreams, but also a lament that one's everyday reality is so different
Exactly.
from the dreams that are spun. It ends in a really powerful way with some kind of spoken word stuff. I can make myself transparent, shoot laser beams out of my eyes. I can stretch beyond expectations, turn to stone, fade into mist. Despite all expectation, I am made of iron fists. So my hypothesis about the journey that we're about to go on is that we will observe Joni leaning more and more into that character, the person that, despite all expectations, has iron fists, and a transference of that known strength into, and therefore shifting, the darker reality into something more Joni friendly. And Joni created,
Yes,
created
exactly.
actively by Joni.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think that that's the journey, the Joni Rich music journey?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's shift our focus to Smile to the Grave, which
Okay.
is
The next song.
the second record. How far along into that journey are we on that record? Or what kind of story is being told there? It says in the on like the one sheet or on Bandcamp that these are personal songs that tell of love, loss, and the hope to recover from heartache.
Yes.
Can you expand on
Sure.
the narrative of Smile to the Grave?
Smile to the Grave is basically where you go through a lot in life and realize that no matter what, you gotta smile. You gotta be enjoying the moments along the way. Even if you face a friend dying or you face a huge breakup, you still gotta smile because there could be something good around the corner.
And you're speaking from personal experience
am.
with those examples
Yes.
you've shared previously, that the need to reduce a certain type of toxicity
Yes.
in
Oh, yeah.
in the life is the
Yeah.
inspiration for a lot of these songs.
It is, absolutely, because it's where you know, it's like you get all this negative energy, and so you just got to get away from it and retreat inward, and then open up.
Retreat
Yeah.
inward, and then that's where this transformation can happen.
Yes.
Where we're no longer spinning dreams that are like fantasies that we can engage in, so long as we're not relating it to
Right,
life.
yeah.
But we can spin our reality. We can make our reality more like the.
We can relax into reality.
Yeah.
You can relax and just pull yourself together, center yourself, create a space that you feel safe and secure. Yeah.
I agree. So for the first couple of songs, I feel like it's kind of setting the scene that there will be some kind of shift within.
Yes.
So it's like this is the this is basically the dark life.
Yes.
And then a capacity to shift that dark life will be discovered over the course, you know, beyond those two songs. The first two songs are Over and Over Again and Ping Pong. So we're caught in a cycle that we don't want to be caught in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
We go over and over again, and then in Ping Pong, we're recognizing that a particular person or a scene or a situation is maybe not worthy of our trust.
Exactly.
How do you expect me to trust you again? How do you expect me to love you again?
Yeah.
And we want to preserve our capacity to trust and to love. So something needs to change.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. You got it. Yeah.
Well, you got it first. And then you ping-ponged it over here, and I ping-ponged it back at you.
It's you.
But then I feel like something shifts in the third song, Shield. Do you feel like something shifts in that third song? And if so, what shifts? What happens?
In Shield, when I wrote that song, I was just kind of writing things out and realized, oh, that's what I'm feeling. Okay, got it. It was like a feeling of, you know, kind of anxiety and depression and getting over something. And then
so you just allowed yourself, so if I'm understanding correctly, you begin by allowing yourself to recognize, I'm feeling anxious, I'm feeling depressed.
Yes.
Is that what you're recognizing first?
I was definitely doing that, and I was definitely letting my guard down and realizing, you know what, I am a little immature, and that's okay. And accepting those thoughts. And
that's a very good thought to have, for anyone to have, because then it's very easy to evolve and become more mature. Like we all are a little immature in certain areas.
Yes.
To recognize, oh, here's where some work can be done, that's a massive catalyst. It's interesting that you were saying you kind of taking your guard down.
Yes.
So this is a song called Shield, though, and to some extent it's about the discovery of the shield that will protect you from the toxicity.
Yes.
So what's the relationship between the cultivation of the shield and this letting the guard down, which seems the opposite, but somehow
but still it creates that. Letting your guard down creates you the feeling that you have inside to become stronger, and then you form an emotional shield. And then when you let it out, you let that part of you that really isn't quite where you want it to be or expected to be, when you just admit it and then you laugh about it, and then you feel so much better. And then you realize, oh wow, I guess I am more mature now.
Absolutely.
Because you accepted that in yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have a series of songs that that chart the journey, the
definitely.
trajectory.
It's definitely a way of healing.
Healing. So there's a wound. We have our wounded parts, and maybe the initial kind of letting the guard down is a way of just being okay with. Yes, I am very anxious. I am very depressed. Why is that? Oh, this is happening, and this is. I feel I can't trust and I can't love. I better. And then once you start being with the wound and tending to the wound, then you intentionally shield the wound, because it's like, okay. Yes, this is the cause of the immaturity that I have, and so I'm going to look after it. Thank you.
Exactly. And grow. I'm going to grow from this. Yes.
Yeah. Did you realize when you were writing the song Shield quite how much of a turning point in your consciousness that was? Was it writing the song that was the turning point, or did you have the realization and then put it into it?
It was as I was writing it, actually. I was just kind of strumming my guitar one day, and then I was like, the first things that came out were, I'm fine, finally I'm fine. And that's when I was like, okay, I'm feeling better.
A lot's going on there.
So it was definitely like going through the whole process of writing it, and then I was like, oh, got it. That's what was going on. Okay. And then there was a definite shift after that.
That was one of the last songs recorded for the record. Well, last one's written too. So
I'm fine finally I'm fine. Like so much is going on
Yeah.
there.
Right.
Because it is an admission of having been feeling worse. We're a long way through a journey finally.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So even though
Yeah.
it's near the beginning of the record, it was really, as I said, it was one of the last ones. So
Yeah.
maybe
It was very healing.
the tone was healing. We've already been through this journey. So, but yeah.
Strengthening. Yep. Definitely.
Let's focus on the title track, "Smile to the Grave." So initially,
Sure.
you were saying, even though this terrible thing can happen, and this other terrible thing can happen, you initially were saying, you still have to smile, but the process that you've just been describing with Shield, it seems there's less kind of should in it. It's not
Right.
like, you're saying, okay, but I should pull myself together, or I should be more mature. There's more tenderness.
Yeah.
And it's okay from the perspective of Shield. I think it's okay to be feeling anxious or depressed, and it's okay to be immature.
Right.
And the awareness of that again is a big catalyst. So I feel that there's the maturity of the record comes through and kind of that we should or we have to smile
Yeah.
to the grave, and it's more of a celebration of developing the authentic,
Exactly.
real capacity to
Exactly.
go on smiling
Yeah.
despite and because of dealing with these
Darker times.
darker times.
Darker feelings.
Yeah, yeah, because by this point, again, we're engaged in co-creating
Yes.
the everyday reality, as opposed to just using our imagination to create this
Right.
alternative.
Yeah.
Um,
True.
So let's talk about the creation of the records with production decisions and so on.
Yeah.
Oh, I can say something. No, just
Yeah, exactly. Let's enable Jesse to
He's like,
speak.
hey, Jody, I got these new microphones. Come over and try them.
that was more of this one, but yeah. So I recorded the first record, Lost Paradox, and that was basically just acoustic,
Yeah.
And I'd said, kind of half jokingly, oh, well, the next one has to be a full band, record, and you laughed, and I didn't know if you, and it turns out, then 2 years later or a year later, I have all these new songs, and let's try to orchestrate them and have drums and bass and everything. And so then that's what we did. And most of the songs, what we would do is Joni would come over, we would cut an acoustic version, and then I would spend a week adding. Well, we had discussed what you wanted it to sound like and the vibe you were going for, and so then I would add drums, bass, keys, whatever is needed, and then the next week would come along, and then you would approve or veto what was done, and then go on another batch. So.
Yeah.
This album could have existed as an acoustic album, and I think there are like acoustic mixes, most of them, but we wanted to have it a musical journey and have every song really have its own sonic signature,
Yeah.
so once we would cut something, we would try to say, okay, let's not retread that ground, new sound, and that's how you end up with like the title track sounding completely different.
Absolutely. I'm
Yeah.
glad that was not vetoed.
That was a cool idea.
And how did that idea develop?
That was towards the end of the session, right? Because we were like, okay, what can we make this sound like? And Joni played it to me, and she explained what it was about your friend who passed away. But my take on it, aside from that, it reminded me of, we're just going, the day by day. We're just trying to get through the daily grind.
That's true.
And I thought of like day laborers working, or maybe a chain gang, and it was almost like, okay, so what if we produce the song as if Joni was singing while like people are building a railroad or something?
Right.
And so that's what we did. And so of course we did the acoustic version, and then I was going around my house looking for metal objects to try to get the right sound of a clang that would sound like a railroad. And
You found
That's what
it.
I did.
What
and then
was
I
it?
think,
What did you discover?
we had this huge, like a metal stake somewhere, and then this huge metal hammer that was Emily's, and then
That was way cool.
I think I had a bag of potatoes that I would, go. Ugh! Oh, whoops, sorry. And so, like, that's the sound on the record. Not to destroy the illusion, but it's like me dropping potatoes and going. Ugh!
That's so awesome.
I can tell.
Yeah. And then like probably 6 tracks of me to make it sound like it's a group. But
Yeah.
and that was the song, and it's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
It
It's
sounds
very
good.
cool. Yeah, I love how
It's very creative.
how we shift from the more solo sounding LOLA'S Paradox to,
Right.
in general, more band-esque
Right.
Smile to the Grave. But then, especially in that song, the community feel that obviously with the band sound is there is
Right.
really maximized in that song. We've discovered 2 things over the course of on the journey so far. We've discovered that one can be more active with one's dream spinning. It doesn't have to be an escape. It could be that we can spin the lived reality
Yes.
Right.
and bring light to the darkness of the lived reality.
Absolutely.
And we've discovered a shield that can protect us as we're doing so from the forces that would make that seem impossible. And we're discovering that this is a co-creative communal thing. So we're all like, we're collectively spinning our reality.
Right.
yeah?
Yeah.
Right. And that's-
Which comes in nicely in that song.
Right. And that's kind of how we do. We're kind of like a production team.
Yeah,
You know.
definitely.
You wrote all the songs, obviously, and we just kind of discussed how to put it together, and we did. I know. Funny thing, because I would say, "What do you want this to sound like?" And you're like, "Oh, I want it to sound like a dream." And so I'm
Yeah.
like, "Okay, what does that even mean?" And this was we were recording it around the time that Twin Peaks: The Return had come
I love
out,
Twin
and
Peaks.
so every week, if you've watched the show, there would be a musical guest. And it was all very David Lynch, just kind of a noir sort of sound. And after a couple episodes, I realized, like, oh, I think this is what Joni wants. And I never talked to you about it.
No.
But then we were making this one. I tell her this exact story, and what does Joni say? She's like, oh, I love David Lynch. so that was the vibe of the record that I figured. I felt that's what Joni was trying to tap into,
Yeah.
Analog, as analog as possible. Not to say it was analog, but kind of very heavily tremoloed guitars and clean tones, Hammond organ. Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So
I
then
didn't mean it to sound David Lynch. It just sort of like happened, and I was like, okay, cool.
it happened in a
Right.
way
I was
that
very flattered, so yeah.
it's just another aspect of external reality actually
Right.
meeting or surpassing
Right.
your expectations
Right.
because of the evolution.
Yeah.
So now let's, speaking of the evolution, let's now move on to the
Seasons
present
change.
and seasons change.
Yes.
And it strikes me that in Seasons Change, the song, and The World Spins Madly On, we have the external reality again portrayed in a similar way to in Over and Over Again and Ping Pong.
Yeah.
Okay, so there is this madly spinning world, which again is like massively a challenge to the dream spinner that's
Wants to create this.
it wants to create something
better
nicer.
life. Yes. Yeah.
And the narrative, if I understand correctly, of The World Spins Madly On is welcome to the new year, welcome to the new you. We begin, as we just have, in a new year,
Right.
a new decade, welcome to the 20s,
Yeah.
with the intention to make it better than before, to be
Absolutely.
this new thing.
Yeah.
And then, of course, because The World Spins Madly On, we, especially if we haven't yet cultivated our dream spinning skills and our
Right.
shield carrying, then there's going to be all kinds of impediments and obstacles that get in the way and make it seem impossible, perhaps,
Sure. Definitely.
to achieve what we want to
And you're
manifest.
just kind of like bummed out that you didn't do everything you wanted to do, but then
But what is the perspective either in that song or in this EP? What's the answer of the EP to that hypothesis that, well, you can have the best of intentions, the new year begins, but really,
in the long run, the world
That's-
just keeps going. So
yeah,
you can
is-
relax. It's
Okay, so
basically, it's like,
okay,
calm
so
down.
don't be so
Don't be
hard
so
on yourself.
It's like, it's really about anxiety, you know. It's like,
Right.
okay, so you're really anxious, you want to do all these things, you didn't make it. Don't be so hard on yourself. Relax, calm down. You know, there's so much going on in the world.
Yeah.
So remember that no matter what, there's always something going on.
None of us
So it's
smile
okay.
to the grave 100% smile all the time.
No.
And that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's good. The world spins madly on, and seasons change. In seasons change, again, we're dealing with the mutability, the constant shifting.
Yeah,
But there's a sense with now envisioned in a cycle,
right.
like with some order to it.
Yeah.
What's this? Is that something that's intentional, and what's the significance of that?
Of the cycle?
Yeah.
I guess it's all a cycle because, you know, no matter what's going on in the world, you're always just going to be yourself. So with the seasons change, what that's all about is that, you know, no matter what, like, you're still the same person, your heart's still the same.
Comes back to you.
It's all, it's all back to you. And no matter what, it's you.
And
Yeah.
that's what we
Yeah.
tried to do with the production too. And again, just like the previous record, it only is easier because there's only 4 songs. You know, we want each song to have its own identity, and it was like, okay, how do we make the song interesting? And I think I had the idea of making each section of the song sound like a season.
Yeah, that
So
was
within
cool.
the within the
Yeah.
song, now.
So
Yeah.
within
Yeah.
the song, correct. So there's 4 phases, and so the first fourth of the song is just Joni's electric guitar and my Hammond organ, and that's cold, that's winter. Then that drops out, and then you hear this arpeggiated guitar, and that's kind of spring. Things are bubbling up, and I think, you know, wood blocks come in, I don't know. And then there's summer,
Yeah.
which is cheerier, and
Yeah.
then some of the cold elements start to get introduced because it's fall, and then it goes back, and so the song ends how it began. The arrangement, anyways.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
hopefully the listener will gather that from it. I don't know, but I thought it was neat. So.
It is neat. Yeah, I love that. And then it ends with, as I watch the seasons change, my heart stays the same.
Absolutely.
I like that it's
Yeah.
specifically the heart.
Yes.
Is the part of the person that stays the same, and because now the heart has become, as we're allowing ourselves to feel initially the anxiety and
The
depression and love for self, and be like, I'm not being treated as I deserve to be treated by this person, and then
Yes.
and then leaning more into the easy solution to that. Okay, boundaries.
Yeah. Yeah.
There is the heart is being protected, and growth is happening in the heart.
Yes.
More processing, more emotions
Yeah.
are being felt, and so the heart by now seems to be becoming like a motor that
Yeah.
is facilitating this constant evolution.
Right.
So the heart stays the same as that motor, and so actually there's like evolution. Like because the
Yeah,
heart's staying the
I see
same,
that.
then Joni is, in one sense, staying the same, but
But
in another
growing.
sense,
Yeah.
evolving,
Yes.
maturing constantly. We've got the constant maturity motor,
Yes.
which it's a good thing to have activated.
Absolutely. Yeah. I couldn't agree more. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So
exactly
these,
how it is.
yeah, and there's been a change from the external world seeming chaotically shifting all the time to the external world changing in a way that could throw you off, but there's some order to. There's
Yeah.
a cycle. The bookends to the new EP are Kinder to Me and Salvation. So let's end by branching out to those 2 bookends, beginning with Kinder to Me, which is
Okay.
the opening
Yeah.
track. At what stage in the process, well, we told the story of becoming kinder to oneself
Right.
over the course of this interview.
Yes.
At what stage in the story of Joni's development of her music and evolution as an artist did the song Kinder to Me get written?
Well, it was after The World Spins Madly On. So it was after dealing with, you know, like letting go and just like learning how to kind of relax. Kinder to Me is along the same things, except for, you know, it is like learning how to, be really nice to yourself, because you realize that you do love people and you're always going to be, you know, kind, but it's time to be be more aware
Yeah.
and like focus on being nicer to, or being kinder to yourself, and really working on that.
Yeah.
That
It's so easy to be nice to everybody but myself is an important
yeah.
lyric.
It's still a learning process, but yeah.
Yeah. But then leaning into the reality that you have the capacity to love, because just look, you're so kind to everyone. And then to like begin again tending to that, the wounds that we all have. Let go of the chaos and focus on the loving kindness.
Exactly.
In a nutshell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To feel it, to feel the good feelings. So it's like the whole journey is kind of like, you know, you can get all the love and kindness in a reality that you make up, and then you realize, like, oh my gosh, life sucks, you know. But then as you go on through life, you realize that you build, or I build, and you work on like people, and then you learn to love what is already there. Instead of just in your dreams, you're loving the reality that you're into.
Yeah.
So it's like you're growing stronger. I guess you're happier.
Yeah, bringing that love, that really wholehearted love to yourself, enabling the evolution, and then as we become more and more adept with our shield and perhaps don't need it as much because we're not feeling as wounded in those particular ways,
Sure.
then there is the capacity to, secondly, then have that love and that kindness
it's time to
like,
focus on
go
that.
to others as well.
Yeah.
Yep. But we can't take the detour. We can't just be
can't,
like, oh,
no.
I'm suddenly just going to be kinder to everyone.
No.
We need to tend to ourselves.
Yeah.
Which is a form of salvation,
Yes.
which is the closing song. So that's a cover.
That is a cover. And actually, you know, it's one of my favorite songs. And that is another song that, like, when I was learning that song, I had, you know, it was my way of another tribute to my friend who passed too, because she died of drug overdose as well. So, yeah. And when I was playing that song too, it was weird because I had these dreams of like hanging out with her again. And
in the
it was
process of writing,
learning that.
of learning the song Salvation.
Yeah. So it was definitely my way of saying goodbye to her.
Yeah. A recurring lyric is "Don't do it."
Yeah.
So it's almost like this is a song which is aware of how easy it is, how pervasive this kind of getting caught up in patterns that don't serve us. Yeah, it's like all of us are to some different degrees and in different ways.
Right.
And it's a song which is a person bravely recognizing, oh, here's the way in which I'm caught up in the pattern, and then finding the right don't that needs to be said. And no, saying no to the to that pattern, which creates room for lots of yes and lots of growth.
Yeah.
So it's a perfect song to end the record on. Inject your soul with liberty. It's free. It's free.
Yes.
Freedom is free. There's a discovery in this song and in your music in general of a type of freedom that has perhaps to be experienced to be known. It's not just like an abstract
thought. No, it's like something you feel within. Like
I was just about to say an internal freedom.
That's exactly what it is. It's an internal freedom.
A process. Also of saving oneself.
Yeah, like, okay, calm down. You don't have to be so perfect. Just let it out. Yeah.
Because it's not what it seems. No, it's not what it seems.
I feel like, Smile to the Grave was really about you, you know, and it's like in first person. But this new EP, I feel like you're, you know, this is what I've learned from this, and I'm giving advice to you.
Yeah.
You know, it's like all these songs on Season Change are addressing the listener.
Yeah, there's wisdom to be shared.
Yeah.
But then the wisdom is to be shared as a result of the focus on the self.
Right.
And wasn't
and
the focus on the self wasn't an attempt to become wise.
Right.
It was
right. No, it wasn't.
I'm dealing with the trauma right now.
Exactly.
You know? It was very obvious, like, oh, this is a breakup album, and it's, you know, that's awesome. And it was. And it's like you've went through those hurdles, and then you came out, and then this is what you've learned.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yep. And then it's basically like self-love too, self-love, and then
self-love, but again, as Jessie is highlighting, it's addressed to others.
too.
So a sharing of these hard-won lessons,
Yeah.
What has worked for you about spinning dreams in reality,
Yep.
in collaboration with the people that that can be trusted through careful
Careful
consideration.
who you trust. Yeah.
Yeah, and the shield bearing, the learning, becoming very adept
Yeah.
at holding up the shield to anything that cannot yet be trusted
Yes.
or cannot be trusted.
Yep.
So thank you
Yeah. Absolutely.
for being kind to yourself, first
Yeah.
of all,
Absolutely.
and then sharing the fruits
Yeah.
of that. It's really important. I'm glad that that's been that's your evolving story of my friend.
Evolving. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
thank you.
You're
Yep.
very welcome.
There will be more told later.
There will be more, yeah, because
Yeah.
you've developed your skills. You continue to evolve now.
Oh, yeah.